Welcome to Six Train Therapy. I'm DJ MayDay,
And I'm Professor S, your psychotherapist to the stars.
and today, I don't know if you noticed, but we're both wearing pink.
Yeah.
What's the problem? You don't like wearing pink?
I don't know what the hell going on up in here.
No, well, we didn't even know. I walked in, and we both walked in, and we were both wearing pink shirts.
Yes, I wanted to wear something that complemented my skin tone.
Me
What's
too.
your excuse?
I think the same thing.
Actually, it looks good too. Actually,
I like
I'm
pink.
just,
I'm here for
do
it.
you know what your colors are? Do you know like what
What looks
makes
good
you
on me?
pop? Yeah.
No, actually, I
You
don't.
don't? No. Well,
Do you?
the brothers have to.
Well, what is it then?
Pinks, grays, corals, yellows, depending on what kind of yellow. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I got to look into this now.
These are things that the brothers go through that
But see-
nobody knows the struggle we see. Nobody knows but Jesus. Anyway, this is Six Train Therapy, and we're talking about work-life balance, aren't we today?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And in doing the research for the show, I noticed some things that it's not as bad as I maybe assumed it was.
Well, yeah, maybe that's what it is. Like, maybe it surprised you based on the research that you found some people really are okay with. They've accomplished more work-life balance as a result of
Right.
the pandemic. But, someone like myself, where most of my work was in a clinic, I had to leave my home and go to a place. That division for me was better for my mental health than to see clients on the screen at home and then be at home afterwards. The line is not as clear. So I'm glad that I have an office to go to on Mondays and Thursdays. That makes me feel
More balanced.
balanced.
Well, I have a couple of facts that I just kind of want to run by, just so we can have a framework. I like to always have a framework on our conversations.
Sure
I hate you, bro. I hate you. So anyway, this reference, it says a new high of 90% of Americans satisfied with their personal lives, right? Which is interesting. And then 60. This is another statistic. Fun fact. 65% of U.S. workers are happy with their jobs, but only 20% are passionate about their jobs. Likewise, only 49% of American workers report being very satisfied with their work, while 30% are merely somewhat satisfied. Over 100 million U.S. workers are at least somewhat satisfied with their workplace. So I guess that's like a mid kind of approval rating, right?
I guess so, and it's not related to pandemic. That's not the context. That's just in general, right?
That was as of June 28th, 2022.
2022?
Yeah, 2022.
Oh, so this year, okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
that's kind of revealing and interesting, you know what I mean? So that, 65% is a pretty good, not hating their jobs at the very least to say. And then, a new high of 90% of Americans satisfied with their personal life. So we can almost say people are doing okay, even though the world...
Probably doing better than, say, 2020. That's probably what I'm thinking.
Right.
Because everything shut down then, so...
But it could...
Maybe we're uptrend, it's an uptrend, or that we, work...
Well,
work situation is nothing like it was now.
Right. But could it be that shit was so bad in 2020
That's very
that everything is up from that? You know what I mean? So there's a lot to look at, and these are from one is from Google and the other is from Gallup. So these are like reputable kind of sources that this stuff is coming from. Just another fun statistic, just in general. As of during the 1980s specific, till 2020, it's a 13 spike in satisfaction of their personal lives. So that's kind of 13%, right? So that's a nice little leap, from the 80s till now, and considering everything that's happened. So it's steadily spiking up. So they every year they take a census of this. So.
I think it's such an individual experience.
Absolutely.
The whole work-life balance and being satisfied in the workplace, and how does one psychologically manage the online or virtual world? How do you balance it out? Like my neighbor, one of my neighbors loves the fact that she can work from home. Has no problems with. She's her best company. And someone like myself, I need more of that social, so I have to be more intentional about staying connected to friends.
In the last 3 years, I've done both, right? Two jobs where I'm at home, and two jobs that weren't. And initially, being at home sounds really great.
Initially, it was for me too.
It sounds really great,
until the third month, and then it was all the wheels came off the truck.
Right. Then you almost kind of need a break. You know what I mean? But if your work is home, like weird things were happening. I was working like in the middle of the night. Like that's not my home.
I've had that experience as well.
So
but sometimes it kind of works for me in the way that okay, I wake up at 3:00 in the morning. I'm awake. I can do 1 hour of work and then go back to bed.
Right.
I'm up. But that may not be in terms of like when we're looking at some of the things I'm going to bring up around work-life balance. Sleep is really important.
Right.
So even though yes, I got some work done, but now my sleep is disturbed, and the line between work and home is now blurred.
Right. So that's like the huge thing. And I found when I was at home for a little while, then I wound up going into an office for work. I found that I was thoroughly enjoying that.
Yeah.
I missed that.
The dynamic of coworkers.
And social activity and change of pace, and then I liked coming home. It was weird. Maybe I was just conditioned for.
I can relate to it though. That's why the idea of going into an office 2 times out of the week has just been the best.
Yeah, for me. I think that's what it is, right? Like if you can go in for a little while. I haven't found that job yet where I can go in for a little while, a couple of days, and then be home a couple of days. That might be perfect.
Right.
That sounds actually perfect.
Yeah, it could work for you. So basically work-life balance. There's been so many different ways of folks saying it, but I like this one that the person said. Work-life balance is when you have 2 faucets and both of them, the water or the fluid, the liquid, the water is coming out equally, or if the one is off and one is on, it's there's still a balance to it, the flow. So a few things that one can really look at when we're talking about work-life balance is it's important to look at your values. Like, what are your values? What's really important to you? So, for example, if you want to be able to get out of work with enough time to get to your kid's recital, or to get to see a play at a certain, frequency, then that may be the time not to take on another assignment or stay that extra hour. Like, if that's your value, to spend time with your family, with your kids, or to take, work out. Right. To make that a priority.
It's interesting. Like I just recently started a new job, and during the interview process, and this is one thing that meant a lot to me. Like my in-laws, they're not exactly mobile right now. You know what I mean? They have different ailments and conditions. We talked about it in another podcast if you wanted to kind of find out more about that. But it's very important to me that if I have to be there, I'm going to be there. So I kind of negotiated, Wednesdays. Awesome. Wednesdays would be the day. Like if I won't be here, or I may have to leave early.
Right. That'll be like your flex day or your day, so that you can take care of the family.
Exactly, because they have doctor's appointments and just stuff they need to do. That I don't really want to get into right now.
And it's interesting that you said that, because one of the articles I read came.
Oh, can I say one more thing? I'm sorry, sir. So before I forget it, but. Before the pandemic, I would have never thought to even dared bring that up in a conversation. Right. So, in an interview, because I'd be like, oh, they're going to tell me to go F myself.
Well, it was connected to that, to one of the articles that I read had to do with work-life balance from the manager's point of view on a work site. And that you have a happier workforce when you can support someone's needs to manage their values. Like if they have to go to the gym, if they've got to take care of family stuff. Like it wasn't just about the worker. It's like, how does the manager look at their team? Because when you do that, your team is more satisfied. They're more willing to do extra,
absolutely.
the kind of work. So you have a more happy staff or workforce.
Absolutely. Like if I have a boss where I can say, "Hey, look, I got this thing for my kid, or I have to go for my in-laws, or I have to do something," and I have the confidence that she'll say yes. She knows she could say, "Can you work on a Saturday?" And I'll be like,
come in.
I'll be like, "Yeah."
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
mm-hmm.
it's an exchange, right?
Yeah.
It's a compromise.
So it's important that if you're dealing with work-life balance, kind of evaluate or examine what are your values, and including to make sure you're taking a lunch break as well. Like if your values are your own wellness, like I need to take a break, then take that break for you as opposed to just working through your lunch all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing.
That's I think that's very important too. Mm-hmm. And it's, I think when you, like for instance, if you start a job and you don't take your lunch for a month and a half, mm-hmm. you know what I mean? They're going to get used to that. They're going to assume that's your mode of operation.
Exactly.
But
which is, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, which kind of leads into the other piece, which is to manage other people's expectations, right? To set your boundaries. Because like you said, if you keep working through your lunch, you're doing this and you're doing that, then everybody's going to expect you to do that.
Right.
And so it's important as part of that work-life balance that in the workplace, you're setting boundaries. You're not going to be Johnny on the spot all the time. Right.
And also, too, it's like, you give me that day, I'm more motivated to make sure I'm there at 9 o'clock, mm-hmm. and I make sure I'm there, to the end of the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Because you're giving me this break, I'll make sure I'm there every time, the time we agreed to.
Right.
And this way, I ensure, it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
It really does.
And also to be, and not everybody's job can do this, but if you're 9 to 5, if you can leave at 5 o'clock.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because again, that's about managing other people's expectations. Yes, sometimes you may choose to do it or you may have to do it, but to not make that the routine.
Right. And a lot of times, you feel the pressure to just stay, especially if you see someone else that you're working with stay.
That's right.
You're like, oh my God, maybe that's their mode of operation. Mm-hmm, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, you got to have your own values when you come into a job, and they see that.
And that's the other thing too, right? Like if that's the culture of the place where you're working, where people stay late and do this and that, then you have to really examine: is this the job for me, given what I feel is a priority? And sometimes it's a choice between your well-being, your values, and your money, because you could be making good money, but not all money is good money.
That's definitely true. I mean, I've been in situations where I was looking for another job. I was getting paid pretty well, but it was miserable.
I've had the same experience. The job that I made the most money was the most depressing job that I've ever done.
It was kind of like a step up for me, but I had at the time young children. Yeah. I wanted to see.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the other part to this is also to prioritize your health. Sleep is really important, like I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. Exercise is really important. And to be honest with you, that's one of the toughest parts of my managing my work-life balance. I mentioned to DJ MayDay, I have my stationary bike is out, a little bit of weights, but it's really hard for me to focus on doing those things since I'm home. So I have to be very deliberate to get out of the house and go to the gym, but sometimes it's not always as easy.
Right, and you need that almost event to spark inspiration, right? You Absolutely. Need to walk into the gym, see everybody working out, okay, this is what I do here. And you wanna pick that up and run with it, and that also gives you a little pep of motivation. Absolutely. But if you're trying to work out in the same place where you chill and watch TV,
exactly, it's a little tough. And there's a cheesecake sitting there on the kitchen counter.
It's I don't
particularly like cheesecake.
You never had my mom's cheesecake.
Or flan.
This flan thing is a running joke.
We may have to cut that part out.
Nah, we will. But anyway, so yeah.
That's coming from the cultural part. Flan, I like curry goat and rice.
I like
curry goat and rice there. I kind of like flan. Yeah. I like how you family. Who made flan the last holiday?
That was my mom.
That was your mom's flan. That was pretty good.
Bro.
That was really good. So the other part to it is also saying no. Right. Sometimes you have to say no, whether it's at work or some other place that you're committed to. Sometimes we have a hard time saying No, and no is a complete sentence. But we have a hard time, how you say, standing up.
Standing your ground,
rights.
yeah.
So standing your ground on a particular thing. Because people will try you. You say no today, tomorrow they're going to ask you again for whatever they want, and you still have to stay on message, because once you stop saying no to things that you really don't have to do, if you have the choice, then it becomes something that, again, it goes back to managing expectations.
And also, I think that, sometimes, look, as a manager, and that I've been a manager of people before, that I know how much time I got in a day. I know what I need to get done. I know what's asked of me. If I have you here till 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, working on that thing regularly, I'm doing something wrong as a manager.
Right.
I'm doing something wrong because I have so much time. And it does happen once in a while. You get hit with a deadline that you gotta make, and that happens.
Yeah.
And if it's rare, it can happen. But for the most part, if you're regularly staying there till that late, something is wrong.
Yeah. And then the other side of it too is sometimes, and I've been a manager as well, and sometimes I would take on things as opposed to delegate it to someone else, so that the workload is more balanced. So to delegate the work as a manager, but also as a, not necessarily frontline worker, but if a non-manager, you can still delegate the work, or even go to your manager and say, look, I need to have this off my plate. Because sometimes you may not feel like you can say that, but at least if you ask, it's better to ask than to not say anything, and then you're like stressed out, and then again, the job becomes this burnout experience. So,
and it's you remember that time we made up that word, micro pleasures?
Micro pleasures.
Like that's
Actually,
what
you came up with that.
Yeah, but we kind of processed it. We were having a conversation about microaggressions.
Microaggressions, right, and the micro pleasures.
Right. So micro pleasures. So that was that's like a thing that I literally actively do, especially when I'm at work. It's those little things that I do to make myself happy. Whether it's have a good lunch, prepare my lunch, healthy lunch, you know what I mean? Or go out, even if I don't have any place to go out for 10, 15 minutes on my lunch break. You know what I mean? Make sure I get out. You know what I mean?
I have to share, a couple of weeks ago, I got to meet up with a friend that I've known for like 35 years, and I actually walked the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge.
Oh, wow.
I've lived in this country for over 40 years, and I've never walked the bridge. And it was the most amazing experience. I had no idea how much of an international attraction the bridge is.
Oh, yeah.
You go over that bridge, you hear all kind of languages, you see the souvenirs, people are taking pictures all over the place. It was one of the best experiences. It was a wonderful day. And to see the difference between the Manhattan Bridge, which is kind of on the beat down side.
And it's the newer one, believe it or not.
No, not the Manhattan Bridge.
Isn't it?
No, the Manhattan Bridge is an old bridge. In fact, I think the Manhattan Bridge used to be closed at one point.
I thought the Brooklyn Bridge was older.
I don't know if it's old. No, what did you say? What did you just
say?
The
Manhattan Bridge is younger than the Brooklyn Bridge.
Is that what you said, younger? I'm sorry, I probably misunderstood what you said.
No, yeah.
But it was more, you were saying it's younger, and I'm saying it looked more broken down.
Right, and it's broken down.
Well, it may be broken, it might be the younger one, but it doesn't have the same level of being taken care of as the Brooklyn Bridge.
That's what it
kind
is,
of like what I mean. So
and the Brooklyn Bridge, I feel like is stone and like a statue, whereas the Manhattan Bridge has like metal girders.
And there's all kind of mesh because of the renovating aspects, but it doesn't even look like it's being renovated, Right. But it was a beautiful day. It was incredible to see your own city almost like a tourist.
Right.
And I think that really did so much for my spirit, not only spending time with my friend, but really absorbing the energy of being a New Yorker.
Oh yeah, I love that.
From so many different perspectives. I mean, there was so much that really, I just felt very lifted. And there's the Brooklyn Park. No, the Brooklyn Bridge Park, I believe it's called.
Is it on the? I'm assuming it's on the Brooklyn side, right?
Yeah, it's on the Brooklyn side, and they have a area called the Time Out Market, and there's a whole bunch of food courts under there. I had some southern food.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
You make me want to slap your mother. That's how good it was.
Why are you talking about my mother
Well,
for?
slap my mother.
Yeah, slap your own damn mother.
Slap my own mother. That's right. I do have one. Slap that woman. She slapped my ass, I guess, when I was born. Well, the doctor slapped my ass when I was born. But anyway, I think we should cut that shit out.
Nah, we're going to leave it in.
That's a freaking tangent and a half. But I had a good time. So, can I just bring out this other piece?
Absolutely,
just to
go
bring
for
us
it.
back to the topic, even though this is all the topic. The idea of burnout, and burnout being like emotional and physical exhaustion, where your identity, your sense of self gets kind of lost. And so when that happens, it means you've overextended oneself. You're not creating the balance, and it leads to burnout. And burnout leads to poor job attendance, poor health outcomes, and also just overall sense of well-being is just not there. So you're constantly in a state of exhaustion. So not having a work-life balance leads to burnout.
I could totally see that. You mind if I talk about something just
Absolutely.
a little different?
Yeah, please.
Well, in my search for like work-life balance and work, there's the micro pleasures where I always try to find a small pleasure in anything I do, whether if I'm at home, if I'm in a stressful situation, I go walk the dog. There's fun things to do, and
It's so important.
yeah. And I'm gonna just throw out there like drugs and alcohol are not a part of that micro pleasure concept where it's hard. You're trying to center yourself, right? This is the thing we talked about in our other episode. Anxiety was trying to center yourself, and I think the concept of micro pleasures is centering yourself in that moment. So I try to do that at work. I do it at home. So it's a big thing. But a thing that I found that was super interesting was flow. Something called flow, and what it is like while you're at work, you maximize your energy, your mind, and your effort. So I'm just going to give a quick little definition of what flow is. Flow is a state of mind in which a person becomes fully immersed in an activity. Positive psychologists describe flow as a state of complete immersion in activity. So it's like...
It's almost like the runner's high.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of that. I'm a swimmer, and I felt that experience when I swim, and also biking. There's that sense of that you're just in the moment of what it... Or we're artists. So when we start creating things, there's definitely a flow. Time has almost no meaning sometimes, right?
It's like an example. There's just a quick example I want to give. Like when I'm DJing, like if I'm DJing at a place and it's just the vibe's not there, nobody's into it, people are distracted, whatever the case may be, those 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it is feel like 6 hours. But if I'm vibing with a crowd, 4 hours can feel like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's that energy.
Yeah, so it's that focus and concentration and that enjoyment and purpose, right?
Yeah.
So all these things are like kind of wrapped in that flow state. I just want to kind of give just a little bit of information about the flow state. There's a really great YouTube video in a Big Think, and it's called How to Enter Flow State. So it's by Steve.
Clarify, what's Big Think? What's that?
Oh, Big Think is kind of a self-help kind of YouTube channel.
Oh, they have multiple things.
They have multiple things, all self-care, wellness, and different aspects of stuff. And this particular one is called The Science of Flow. I'll definitely leave it in the description.
Yeah.
And his name is Steven Kotler. And he really goes in depth about how to catch that flow state. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? A lot of Stevens are really good at capturing the flow state. I'm Steven. This is Stephen Hawkins, the guy that passed away.
Let's not forget Stevie Wonder.
And that's Stevie. We are Stevens. Let's be clear, okay? But no, I think it's a great. There's so many paths to self-care. I think that's one of the things that I think we pride ourselves with this channel that we're developing here, is that there's so many different angles and aspects to overall wellness.
Absolutely.
And mental wellness and just overall well-being. And a lot of times, just to kind of go off in a slight tangent, But I think as black and brown folks, we have to be even more mindful because of the microaggressions that we may experience, or because sometimes
The different
one
pressures that are on us.
Exactly, and
Coming
sometimes
from-
feeling like you have to be twice as good. Sometimes just to be considered average, even in
Right.
some environments.
Just be included in whatever it is.
Exactly. And so again, the work-life balance has almost another, what's the word?
A layer for
Importance.
us? Yeah.
Another layer for us, and a level of importance to be aware. Because that's the other thing too, just in general, it's not a black and brown issue, this is really a human issue, is that we're not always aware when we're really getting burnt out. We don't realize that we don't have work-life balance, or we always we're chasing the dollar as opposed to chasing our well-being.
Right. And basically our happiness on
That's
some
kind of
level.
poetic, right? Chasing the dollar.
Yeah, but
chasing
let's not,
well-being.
let's not get too
Let's
high
not
on
get
that.
carried away.
I'm busting chops.
Well, I think we enjoy this, right?
Yes, this
is an early project for us. We really enjoy this, and I think that we both feel at the end of the day, or whenever we start doing these, there is like a pumping up of our energy.
Absolutely.
Right.
And learning, right?
And
like, so, like, we force ourselves with topics and then we delve into them.
And we delve
and
Yeah.
I finding out so many aspects, of wellness that really help me. You know what I mean? So,
and it's interesting because as a psychotherapist and a group facilitator, a lot of the things that we research, I bring them to the work, right?
Wow,
I bring it to the clients, or I'm sensitive to ask the question like, are you exercising?
Right.
Are you working on that project that you like? I have one person who's a photographer and is very good, but not always consistently doing that thing that balances him out, and he's also quite financially gains a lot from that experience, but that's not his main gig.
Right.
So I take some of these things into the work too, so that also adds to the joy of doing this.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We sound like cool guys, right? Don't we sound like cool guys?
Why would you ruined it, man?
Even though we're both wearing pink shirts, why are we wearing pink today?
I don't know.
What is that?
It was just the way the universe was happening, and it just kind of pink.
That's work-life balance. I don't know how that fits in, but it fits. Maybe we're balancing each other out with the pink.
Okay. I'm down. I'm here for it.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so I think
Are we wrapping up?
I think so.
I think so, right? Keep it short and sweet. So I'm Professor S.
And I'm DJ MayDay. Thank you for listening to Sixth Strain Therapy.
And please comment, subscribe, and
Like if you like.
like it. Yeah. And let folks know.
Absolutely. Peace.
Okay.